The wedding dress lay across the bed like a ghost. Eleanor stood in the doorway of her twin sister's room, staring at the empty space where Charlotte should have been. The morning sun came through the window. It showed the truth that made Eleanor's heart stop. Charlotte was gone. The room was too quiet, too still. Eleanor's hands gripped the doorframe so hard her knuckles turned white. On the pillow sat a folded note with her name on it. Eleanor crossed the room on shaking legs. She picked up the note. Her sister's handwriting blurred as tears filled her eyes. "Forgive me, Ellie. I cannot marry him. I love another. You are the strong one. You always have been. Please understand." Eleanor read the words 3 times. Each time they cut deeper. Charlotte had run away. The wedding was in 2 hours. Their father would be ruined. The Duke of Ashworth would demand payment for the broken contract. They would lose everything. The dress seemed to mock her with its beauty. White silk and lace, made for Charlotte's petite frame. Eleanor was taller, thinner, too thin. Their aunt always said, too plain, too quiet. Charlotte was the pretty twin, the charming one, the one men wanted. Eleanor was the shadow, the one people forgot was in the room. She touched the silk with trembling fingers. An impossible thought formed in her mind. No one had ever seen the bride's face except the family. The Duke had met Charlotte only once. At the contract signing, he had barely looked at her, just signed the papers and left. The veil was thick, heavy with embroidered flowers. It would cover her face completely during the ceremony. Eleanor's breath came faster. Could she do it? Could she take Charlotte's place? Footsteps sounded in the hall. "Miss Charlotte, time to dress," her maid's voice called out. Eleanor made her decision in that heartbeat. She grabbed the note and shoved it in her pocket. "Coming," she called back, trying to match Charlotte's lighter tone. Her hands shook as she began to undress. This was madness. But what choice did she have? Her father had already borrowed against the marriage settlement. If the wedding did not happen, they would be destroyed. Her younger brother would lose his chance at school. Her mother would be shamed before all society. The maid came in carrying flowers. She stopped when she saw Eleanor. "Miss Eleanor, what are you doing here? Where is Miss Charlotte?" Eleanor's mind raced. She felt ill. "Nerves, you know. She asked me to help her dress." The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. The maid frowned, but nodded. "Poor dear, all brides get nervous." "Well, help me with these buttons then." The dress slid over Eleanor's head. It fit better than she expected. Charlotte had grown rounder with all the wedding cakes. Eleanor's thinner frame filled the silk almost perfectly. The maid pulled the laces tight. Eleanor could barely breathe. "You look lovely, miss," the maid said softly. Eleanor almost laughed. No one had ever called her lovely. That word belonged to Charlotte. The maid arranged the veil over Eleanor's head. The world went dim behind the thick lace. Perfect. No one would see her face until after the vows were spoken, after it was too late. Eleanor walked down the stairs like a woman in a dream. Her father waited at the bottom. His face showed relief when he saw the white dress. "There's my girl," he said gruffly. "Time to make us all proud." He did not look closely. Did not see the wrong daughter behind the veil. Eleanor wanted to scream the truth. Instead, she took his arm. Her legs moved without her permission. Left foot, right foot, toward the church, toward a life that was never meant to be hers. The ceremony passed in a blur of fear. The church was cold despite the summer day. Eleanor shivered as she walked down the aisle. Faces turned to watch. Strangers who had come to see the Duke marry. At the altar stood the man who would be her husband. The Duke of Ashworth. Tall and broad-shouldered, his dark hair was neat above his collar. His face was hard as stone. He did not turn to watch her approach, just stared straight ahead, like a man at his own funeral. The vicar began to speak. Eleanor heard none of the words. Her heart pounded so loud it drowned out everything else. This was wrong. She should stop this, tell the truth. But her father's hand on her arm kept her silent. The Duke's cold voice answered the vows. Then it was her turn. "I do," she whispered. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. Higher than normal, frightened. The Duke did not seem to notice, or perhaps he did not care. The Duke lifted her veil. For one terrible moment, Eleanor thought he would see, would know this was the wrong woman, but he barely looked at her face. His grey eyes passed over her features without interest. He kissed her cheek quickly. A cold brush of lips that felt like duty, not desire. Then it was done. She was his wife, the Duchess of Ashworth, and he did not even know her name. The wedding breakfast was torture. Eleanor sat beside her new husband at the head table. He spoke only when required. His answers were short and cold. Yes, no, indeed. He looked at her twice. Both times his gaze held no warmth, no curiosity, nothing at all. Eleanor pushed food around her plate. Her stomach was too tight to eat. Across the room, her aunt whispered to another woman. Both looked at Eleanor with satisfaction. The plain twin had done well after all, if only they knew the truth. The Duke stood when the meal ended. "The carriage is ready," he told her, his first full sentence to her. "We leave for Ashworth Hall within the hour." Eleanor nodded. She could not speak, could barely breathe. She would be alone with this stranger, this cold, hard man who had married a woman he thought was someone else. She followed him from the room. Her family embraced her. At the door, her father looked relieved. Her mother cried. Her brother waved. None of them knew they were saying goodbye to the wrong daughter. The carriage was black and fine. The ducal crest gleamed on the door. Eleanor climbed inside. The Duke sat across from her. He stared out the window as they rolled away. Did not speak. Did not look at her. Eleanor clutched her hands in her lap. The miles passed in silence. The afternoon sun moved across the sky. Still the Duke said nothing. Eleanor began to wonder if he would ever speak to her again. Ashworth Hall appeared as the sun set. It rose from the countryside like something from a dream. Grey stone and tall towers, windows that caught the dying light. Beautiful and cold, like the man who owned it. The carriage stopped before the great doors. Servants lined the steps, all in neat uniforms, all watching the new Duchess with careful eyes. Eleanor stepped down on shaking legs. Her husband offered his arm. The first time he had touched her since the church. His arm was solid under her hand, warm despite his cold manner. A tall woman came forward, grey hair pulled back severely, black dress and keys at her waist. "Your Grace, welcome home. I am Mrs. Hill, the housekeeper." She curtsied low. Her sharp eyes studied Eleanor. "I have prepared the Duchess' rooms according to your instructions." The Duke nodded. "See that she has everything she needs. I will be in my study." He dropped Eleanor's arm and walked away. Just like that, left her standing with strangers in a strange house. Mrs. Hill led Eleanor upstairs. The halls were long and dark. Paintings of stern-faced ancestors lined the walls, all watching her, all knowing she did not belong here. The Duchess' rooms were large and fine, blue silk on the walls, heavy furniture, a bed big enough for 3 people. "Your trunks will arrive tomorrow," Mrs. Hill said. "For tonight, there is a nightdress in the wardrobe." The Duke asked that you not be disturbed. She said the last part carefully. Eleanor understood. Her husband would not be visiting her room tonight. Relief and shame washed through her in equal parts. Alone at last, Eleanor sank onto the bed. What had she done? She had married a stranger under false pretenses, had taken her sister's place, her sister's name, her sister's life. She pulled off the veil with shaking hands. The pins scraped her scalp. Tears came finally. She had not let herself cry all day. Now they poured out, great shaking sobs that hurt her chest. She cried for the life she had given up, for the lie she would have to live forever, for the cold man who was now her husband. A knock at the door made her freeze. "Your Grace?" A young maid's voice. "I've brought your supper." Eleanor wiped her eyes quickly. "Come in." The maid entered with a tray. Pretty and young. Her eyes widened when she saw Eleanor's face. "Oh, you've been crying. Are you well, my lady?" Eleanor tried to smile. "Just tired. It has been a long day." The maid set down the tray. "I'm Mary, my lady. I'll be your lady's maid. If you need anything at all, you just ring." She pointed to the bell pulled by the bed. "Thank you, Mary," Eleanor said softly. The kindness in the girl's voice made her want to cry again. Mary helped her out of the wedding dress, hung it carefully in the wardrobe, helped her into the nightdress, brushed out her long brown hair. "You have lovely hair, my lady," Mary said. "So thick and shiny, and such pretty eyes, like chocolate." Eleanor stared at her reflection. No one had called her pretty before. That was always Charlotte. But maybe in this new place she could be someone different. Someone worthy of kindness. "That will be all, Mary," she said quietly. "Thank you," Mary curtsied and left. Eleanor climbed into the enormous bed. The sheets were cold and smooth. She had never slept in such a fine bed, never worn such a fine nightdress, never been called Your Grace. But the fineness meant nothing. She was a fraud, a liar, sleeping in a bed that belonged to Charlotte, wearing a title that was not hers. And somewhere beyond these walls was a husband who did not even know her real name. Sleep took a long time to come. When it did, Eleanor dreamed of running through endless halls, while voices called Charlotte, Charlotte. Behind her, footsteps followed, getting closer, closer. A hand reached for her shoulder. She woke with a gasp. Dawn light came through the windows. Her first morning as a duchess, as a wife, as a woman living a lie. The days that followed fell into a pattern. Eleanor woke alone, dressed with Mary's help, ate breakfast in her room. The Duke was always gone, out riding, Mrs. Hill said, managing the estate. Eleanor walked the gardens, sat in the library, explored the great house room by room. Everything was beautiful. Everything was cold. She saw her husband only at dinner. He sat at the far end of the long table. They ate in silence. Afterward he disappeared into his study. Eleanor went back to her room. They lived in the same house but might as well have been strangers passing in the street. A week passed, this way, then two. Eleanor began to relax slightly. The Duke showed no interest in her, asked no questions about her life before marriage, never spoke of anything personal. He was like a ghost, present but not really there. Eleanor told herself this was good. He would never discover her deception if he never truly looked at her. But part of her felt sad. This cold, empty life stretched ahead forever. No warmth, no companionship, just silence and distance. One evening, Eleanor came down to dinner to find the Duke already seated. This was unusual. He was always late. Tonight he sat at his place, staring at nothing. His face looked more tired than usual. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Eleanor took her seat quietly. Servants brought the first course. The Duke did not eat, just pushed food around his plate. Eleanor watched him carefully. Something was different tonight. Something was wrong. "Is everything well, Your Grace?" she asked softly. Her first words to him beyond "good evening" in 2 weeks. The Duke's head snapped up. He looked at her as if surprised. She could speak. "Why do you ask?" His voice was rough. Eleanor felt her courage waver. But she had spoken. She could not take it back now. "You seem troubled," she said. "I wondered if there was anything I could do." The Duke stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. "Do? What could you possibly do?" Eleanor flinched. I am your wife. If something troubles you, you are my wife in name only." He cut her off. "Do not pretend there is more between us than a contract." The words hit like a slap. Eleanor felt her face burn. Tears pricked her eyes. She looked down at her plate. Foolish. Foolish to think he might want her concern. Foolish to hope for even a moment of real connection. "Forgive me," she whispered. "I meant no offense." Silence fell again, heavier than before. Eleanor wanted to run from the room, but duchesses did not run. So she sat, trapped in her chair, trapped in her lie, trapped in this cold, loveless marriage. "I apologize." The Duke's voice was quiet now. Eleanor looked up in surprise. He was not looking at her. His eyes were fixed on his wineglass. "That was unkind. You did nothing to deserve such words." He took a long drink. "Today is the anniversary of my mother's death. It makes me difficult." Eleanor's heart softened, despite herself. "I am sorry for your loss," she said gently. "It must be hard." The Duke nodded. "She was kind, like you seem to be. She would have liked that about you." He stood abruptly. "Excuse me. I find I am not hungry tonight." He left the room quickly. Eleanor sat alone at the long table. His words echoed in her mind. Kind, like you seem to be. He had noticed something about her, had compared her to someone he loved. It was the first real thing he had ever said to her. That night, Eleanor could not sleep. She kept thinking about the Duke's face, the grief in his eyes, the rough edge to his voice. He was not just cold. He was hurting. She had been so focused on her own fear and guilt that she had not seen his pain. Eleanor rose and pulled on her dressing gown. She walked through the dark halls without thinking. Her feet carried her toward the study. Light showed under the door. She knocked softly. "Enter." The Duke's voice sounded tired. Eleanor opened the door. He sat behind his desk, papers spread before him, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He looked up and froze when he saw her. "Your Grace, is something wrong?" Eleanor shook her head. "I could not sleep. I thought perhaps you might like some company. I know today is difficult for you." The Duke stared at her. Something flickered in his grey eyes. Surprise, maybe, or confusion. "You should be in bed," he said. But his voice was gentler than usual. "So should you," Eleanor replied. She moved into the room, closed the door behind her. "How old were you when she died?" she asked. The Duke blinked. 15. His hand tightened on the glass. It was very sudden. A fever. She was well one day and gone the next. Eleanor's heart ached for him. That must have been terrible. I cannot imagine. She sat in the chair across from his desk, uninvited, bold. Her hands shook in her lap, but she kept her voice steady. "Do you want to talk about her? Sometimes it helps to remember the good things." The Duke's jaw worked. For a moment she thought he would send her away. Then he spoke. "She loved roses." The gardens here were her pride. She would spend hours tending them herself, even though we had gardeners. A small smile touched his lips. My father said it was beneath her station. She did not care. She said her hands needed to touch living things, to help them grow. Eleanor smiled. She sounds wonderful. She was, the Duke said quietly. After she died, my father changed, became hard. He said grief was weakness, that a duke must never show such things. He sent me away to school a week after the funeral. I did not come home for 2 years. Eleanor's throat tightened. That is so unfair. You were just a boy. You needed comfort, not punishment. The Duke looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. His eyes moved over her face. Seeing her, "You are different than I expected," he said slowly. Eleanor's pulse jumped. Different how? He shook his head. I do not know. Softer perhaps. More real. He stood and came around the desk, sat in the chair beside hers, much closer now. I apologize for my coldness these past weeks. This marriage was not my choice, but that is no excuse for treating you poorly. Eleanor could barely breathe. He was so close. She could smell the whiskey on his breath, the faint scent of horses and leather on his clothes. It was not my choice either, she said carefully. But we are bound together now. Perhaps we could try to make the best of it. The Duke studied her face. You are kinder than I deserve. Why? Because I am not who you think I am, Eleanor thought. Because I am living a lie, and kindness is all I have to offer. But she could not say that. Because everyone deserves kindness, she said instead, especially when they are hurting. Something shifted in the Duke's expression. His hard edges seemed to soften. What is your favorite flower? He asked suddenly. The question surprised her. Lavender, Eleanor said. I love the smell. It reminds me of summer. The Duke nodded. There is lavender in the gardens. I will show you tomorrow, if you like. Eleanor's heart leaped. I would like that very much. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then the Duke stood. You should return to your room. It is late. Eleanor rose. Will you be able to sleep now? He looked at her with something like warmth. I believe I will. Thank you for coming, for listening. It helped more than you know. Eleanor walked back to her room in a daze. Something had changed between them. A crack had opened in his armor. She had seen the man beneath the cold Duke, had glimpsed his loneliness and pain, and he had seen her too. Not Charlotte, her Eleanor. The realization was terrifying and thrilling all at once. She climbed into bed with a strange feeling in her chest. Hope, perhaps, or the beginning of something more dangerous. Something she had no right to feel. The next morning, the Duke was waiting in the breakfast room when Eleanor came down. Another first. Good morning, he said, almost smiled. I thought we might walk in the gardens after breakfast, if you are still interested. Eleanor's heart fluttered. Yes. I would like that. They ate together. Real conversation happened between bites. The Duke asked about her childhood. Eleanor answered carefully, telling truths that belonged to both her and Charlotte, stories from their shared years. The Duke listened, actually listened, asked questions, laughed at a funny story about her brother. Eleanor found herself laughing too. The sound felt strange. She had not laughed since the wedding. The gardens were beautiful. More beautiful than Eleanor had realized from her window. Roses bloomed everywhere, red and white and pink. Their scent filled the air. The Duke led her down a winding path. My mother planted all of these herself, he said. Pride filled his voice. She would be glad to know they still bloom. They came to a section filled with purple lavender. The Duke gestured. For you, Eleanor touched the soft flowers, breathing deep. It is perfect. Thank you for showing me. The Duke watched her. His eyes were warmer than they had been. You look happy here. It suits you. They walked for an hour, talking, sometimes falling into comfortable silence. Eleanor felt something growing between them, a fragile connection. When they returned to the house, the Duke took her hand, kissed it gently. Thank you for this morning. I have not enjoyed anything so much in years. Eleanor curtsied. Nor have I, Your Grace. Call me William, he said. When we are alone, I would like to hear my name from your lips. Eleanor's face flushed. William, she whispered. He smiled, a real smile that transformed his whole face. Then he was gone. Off to meet with his steward. Eleanor stood in the hall, her hand still warm from his kiss, her heart beating fast. This was dangerous. She was falling for him, and he was falling for a woman who did not exist. The days changed after that. William sought out her company. They rode together in the mornings, walked in the gardens in the afternoons, sat together in the library in the evenings. He told her about his life, his lonely childhood, his difficult father, the weight of expectations he had carried since birth. I was taught that a duke must be hard, he said one evening, must think only of duty and family name. There was no room for softness, for feeling. Eleanor touched his hand gently. Your mother was soft, and you loved her. Being soft does not make you weak. William turned his hand to catch hers, their fingers intertwined. You are teaching me that, he said quietly. You are teaching me many things. Eleanor knew she should pull away, should keep distance between them, but she could not. His touch felt too good, too right. She was hungry for affection after years of being invisible, and William gave it freely now. Small touches, warm smiles, long looks that made her stomach flutter. She told herself it was harmless, that she could enjoy this without letting it go too far, but her heart knew the truth. She was falling in love with her husband, the husband who thought she was someone else. 1 month became 2. Summer faded into autumn. The leaves turned gold and red. William became more affectionate. He held her hand at dinner, kissed her cheek when they parted, sat close enough that their shoulders touched. One evening, he pulled her into the music room. I want to hear you play, he said. Eleanor froze. Charlotte played beautifully. Eleanor had never learned. Their father said lessons for one daughter were enough. Eleanor had listened through doors while Charlotte practiced. But listening was not the same as playing. I am not very good, Eleanor said carefully. William smiled. I do not care. Play something, anything. Eleanor sat at the piano. Her hands shook as she touched the keys. She played a simple tune, something she had taught herself in secret years ago. It was rough, filled with mistakes, but she played from her heart. When she finished, silence filled the room. Eleanor felt shame wash over her. Charlotte would have played perfectly. William would know now that something was wrong. That was beautiful, William said softly. Eleanor turned to stare at him. It was terrible. I made so many mistakes. William shook his head. You played with feeling, with honesty. That matters more than perfection. He sat beside her on the bench. Play it again. I want to learn it. They sat side by side. Eleanor's fingers showing William the notes, his larger hands clumsy on the keys. They laughed together at his mistakes. His shoulder pressed against hers. His warmth seeped through her dress. Eleanor felt drunk on happiness, on being close to him. When the lesson ended, William turned to her. His face was very close. You make me happy, he said simply. I did not think I could be happy again, but you have brought light back into this dark house. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. You have given me a home, she whispered. I was so alone before, so invisible. Here, with you, I feel seen. William's hand came up to cup her cheek. His thumb wiped away a tear. How could anyone not see you? He murmured. You shine. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. Eleanor did not move, could not move. His lips touched hers softly, gently. A question, not a demand. Eleanor's eyes closed. She kissed him back, pouring all her loneliness and longing into that moment. William's arms came around her, pulled her close. The kiss deepened, became something more. Eleanor felt her world shift. This was no longer a marriage of convenience. This was real, true. She loved him. God help her, she loved him with everything she had. They broke apart slowly, both breathing hard. William rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he said. The words hung in the air, precious and terrible. Eleanor's heart soared and broke at the same time. He loved her, but he did not know her. Not really. I love you too, she whispered, because it was true, because she could not help herself. William smiled, kissed her again. I never thought I would say those words. Never wanted to. Love seemed like weakness, but you have shown me it is strength. The greatest strength there is. That night, Eleanor lay awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling. William loved her, wanted to be with her, to build a life together. But their happiness was built on lies, on her deception. Every day the truth became harder to tell. How could she confess now, when he had opened his heart, when he believed she was Charlotte? The truth would destroy him, would destroy everything between them. But living the lie was destroying her. The next morning brought visitors. Eleanor was in the morning room when Mrs. Hill announced them. Lady Ashworth and Lord James to see you, Your Grace. Eleanor's blood went cold. Lady Ashworth was William's aunt, Lord James, his cousin. Family who might know Charlotte might realize Eleanor was the wrong twin. Show them in, Eleanor said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. She clasped them in her lap, tried to breathe normally. Lady Ashworth swept in, tall and elegant, cold eyes that missed nothing. My dear Duchess, how lovely to finally meet you. My nephew has kept you hidden away like a treasure. She kissed the air beside Eleanor's cheek. Lord James followed, young and handsome, smiling easily. Cousin, what a beauty you have married, William. Must be very pleased. Eleanor curtsied. You are too kind. Please, sit. I will call for tea. She reached for the bell pull with trembling fingers. The visit was torture. Lady Ashworth asked questions about Eleanor's family, her life before marriage, her accomplishments. Eleanor answered carefully, using Charlotte's stories, Charlotte's achievements. I was told you play piano beautifully, Lady Ashworth said. We must have a performance tonight at dinner. Eleanor felt faint. I am quite out of practice, I fear. Nonsense, Lord James said cheerfully. All young ladies claim that. I am sure you are wonderful. Eleanor smiled weakly. She was trapped. William came home to find the house full of guests. His face showed surprise and displeasure. Aunt James, I was not expecting you. Lady Ashworth smiled. Surely we do not need an invitation to meet your new bride. We have waited months for you to bring her to London. Since you did not, we came here. William's jaw tightened. You are welcome, of course, but perhaps you should have sent word ahead. We wanted to surprise you, Lord James said. And what a delightful surprise to find such a charming duchess. Dinner that evening was tense. Eleanor sat beside William. His hand found hers under the table, squeezed gently, reassuring her. But Eleanor could not be reassured. Lady Ashworth watched her like a hawk, studying every move, every word. "Tell me, my dear," the older woman said, "how did you find the transition to being a duchess? It must have been quite overwhelming." Eleanor chose her words carefully. "It was an adjustment, but His Grace has been very kind. He has made me feel welcome." "How sweet," Lady Ashworth said. Her smile did not reach her eyes. "And your family, do you miss them?" Eleanor's throat tightened. "Of course, but I am happy here." After dinner, Lady Ashworth insisted on the promised performance. Eleanor sat at the piano, her heart pounding. She played the simple piece she had played for William. It sounded even worse with an audience. Her fingers stumbled, missed notes. The silence when she finished was deafening. "Well," Lady Ashworth said slowly, "that was interesting. I was told you were quite accomplished at the instrument." Eleanor felt her face burn. "I am sorry to disappoint. I have never been very skilled." Lady Ashworth's eyes narrowed. "Strange, your father spoke so highly of your talent. Perhaps I misunderstood." William stood quickly. "My wife is talented in many ways. Music is but one small part of her charm. Now, if you will excuse us, it has been a long day." He took Eleanor's arm, led her from the room. Behind them, Eleanor heard Lady Ashworth whisper to Lord James. She could not make out the words, but the tone was suspicious. Dangerous. In the hallway, William pulled Eleanor close. "Do not let her upset you. My aunt is difficult with everyone." Eleanor nodded, but fear coiled in her stomach. Lady Ashworth suspected something. Eleanor could feel it. "William," she said quietly, "there is something I need to tell you." He looked down at her. "What is it?" Eleanor opened her mouth. The truth was right there, ready to spill out. But then Lord James came into the hall. "There you are. Aunt wants to know when we might tour the stables tomorrow. She is quite insistent." The moment was broken. William sighed. "I will speak with her." "Excuse me, darling." He kissed Eleanor's forehead and walked away. That night, Eleanor made a decision. She would tell William the truth. Before his family discovered it, before everything fell apart, she would tell him who she really was. That she was Eleanor, not Charlotte. That she had taken her sister's place. She would beg his forgiveness, hope that his love was strong enough to withstand the truth. In the morning she would speak, before courage failed her. But morning brought disaster. Eleanor woke to shouting. She rushed from her room. Servants clustered in the hall, all talking at once. "What is happening?" Eleanor demanded. Mary turned to her. The maid's face was pale. "My lady, there is a woman here. She claims she is the real Duchess of Ashworth." Eleanor's world tilted. No, it could not be, but her heart knew. Charlotte had come. Eleanor ran down the stairs. In the entrance hall stood her sister. Charlotte looked different, thinner. Her dress was worn, her hair messy. But it was definitely her. "Charlotte," Eleanor rebreathed. Her sister turned. Tears streamed down her face. "Ellie, thank God. I have made a terrible mistake. I have come to fix it." William stood nearby. His face was white, confused. "What is going on? Who is this woman?" Charlotte looked at him. "I am Charlotte Hartley, your bride, your true wife." She pointed. "Eleonora, that woman is my twin sister. She took my place at the altar." The words hit like cannon fire. William's eyes swung to Eleanor. Horror and disbelief warred on his face. "What is she talking about?" His voice was low, dangerous. Eleanor felt the floor drop from under her. "William, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" His voice rose. "Explain that you lied to me. That everything between us has been a lie. Tears poured down Eleanor's cheeks. Not everything. My feelings are real. I love you. That is true. William laughed. A terrible sound. Love. You do not even have the right to that name you used. Who are you? What is your real name? Eleanor, she whispered. My name is Eleanor. William stared at her, at this stranger wearing his wife's face. His hands clenched at his sides. Get out. Eleanor stepped toward him. Please, let me tell you what happened. Why I did it. I do not care why. William shouted. You deceived me. Made a fool of me. I opened my heart to you. Told you things I have never told anyone. And it was all a lie. You were laughing at me this whole time. No, Eleanor cried. I never laughed. I never wanted to hurt you. I had no choice. There is always a choice, William said coldly. You chose deception. You chose to trick me into marriage. Well, congratulations. You are very good at lying. Lady Ashworth appeared at the top of the stairs. I knew something was wrong. A mother's intuition never fails. She looked triumphant. William, you must have the marriage annulled immediately. This woman is a fraud. William looked at Eleanor. His grey eyes were ice. Pack your things. I want you gone within the hour. Where will I go? Eleanor asked desperately. William's face was stone. I do not care. Back to your family. To the streets. Anywhere but here. I never want to see you again. He turned and walked away. Did not look back. Charlotte rushed forward, grabbed Eleanor's arm. I am so sorry, Ellie. I did not mean for this to happen. I just wanted to come back, to fix things. Eleanor shook her off. You have done enough. She walked up the stairs on numb legs. In her room, Mary helped her pack. The maid's face was kind, pitying. Where will you go, my lady? Eleanor shook her head. I do not know. It does not matter. Everything was over. The happiness she had found, the love she had felt, all ashes now. The carriage took her away from Ashworth Hall, away from the only home she had ever truly had. Eleanor stared out the window, watched the grey towers disappear behind trees. Her heart felt dead in her chest. William hated her, thought she had played him for a fool. He would never forgive her, never understand that she had fallen in love with him, that every moment together had been real for her. She had lost him, lost everything. 3 days passed in a blur. Eleanor stayed at an inn, using the little money she had. She wrote to her family, but received no answer. Charlotte must have told them what happened. They would be furious, ashamed. Eleanor was alone, truly alone. On the third night, she stood at her window, looking down at the street far below. It would be easy to step out, to let go, to end this pain. Her hand touched the window latch. A knock at the door stopped her. Miss, there is a gentleman to see you. Eleanor's heart leaped. William, had he come? She rushed to open the door, but it was Lord James who stood there. William's cousin. His face was serious. May I come in? I have something important to tell you. Eleanor stepped back. Let him enter. What do you want? Lord James looked uncomfortable. I have been thinking about what happened. Something did not sit right with me. So I went to your family home. Spoke to your brother. Eleanor's pulse quickened. What did he say? Lord James met her eyes. He told me the truth about Charlotte running away, about your father's debts, about how you took her place to save your family from ruin. Eleanor's throat closed. Why does it matter? The damage is done. It matters, Lord James said firmly, because William thinks you did this out of malice, to trick him. He does not know you sacrificed yourself for your family, that you had no choice. Eleanor shook her head. He will not care. He made that clear. You are wrong, Lord James said. William is angry, hurt, but he is not cruel. If he understands why you did it, he may forgive you. Eleanor wanted to believe him, but hope felt dangerous. What do you want from me? She asked. Come back with me, Lord James said. Face William, tell him the full truth. Let him decide with all the facts. Eleanor looked away. He told me never to return. I will not force myself on him. You owe him the truth. Lord James insisted. The whole truth. Not just what Charlotte told him. Give him that, at least. Then if he still wants you gone, I will help you start somewhere new. But you must try. Eleanor closed her eyes. The thought of facing William again terrified her, but Lord James was right. She owed him the truth. All of it. All right, she whispered. I will come. The ride back to Ashworth Hall took hours. Eleanor's stomach churned the whole way. What would she say? How could she make him understand? Lord James tried to reassure her. William loved you. I saw it in his eyes when he looked at you at dinner. That kind of love does not die in 3 days. It may be buried under anger, but it is still there. Eleanor wanted to believe him, but William's face when he had ordered her away haunted her. So much hate, so much betrayal. They arrived at dusk. The house looked dark, unwelcoming. Lord James led her inside. Wait here, he said. I will bring William. Eleanor stood in the entrance hall. The same hall where her world had shattered. Her hands trembled. Her heart pounded. Footsteps sounded above. William came down the stairs. He stopped when he saw her. His face went hard. What are you doing here? I told you. I asked her to come. Lord James interrupted. She has something to tell you. Something you need to hear. Then, if you still want her gone, I will take her away myself. But hear her out, cousin. Please. William's jaw worked. Fine. 5 minutes. Then she leaves. He gestured to the study. Eleanor followed him on shaking legs. The door closed behind them. They were alone. William stood with his arms crossed. Speak. Eleanor took a breath. That morning Charlotte ran away. She left a note. She said she loved someone else. Could not marry you. William's eyes flickered. That is not my concern. My father had borrowed against the marriage settlement. Eleanor continued. If the wedding did not happen, we would be ruined. My brother would lose his education. My mother would be shamed. I saw the dress, the veil. No one had seen Charlotte's face but family. I thought I could take her place, just for the ceremony, then perhaps confess after. William's face was unreadable. Why did you not confess? Eleanor's voice broke. I was afraid, and then you were so kind to me. You shared your pain, your loneliness. You made me feel seen for the first time in my life. I fell in love with you by the time I found courage to tell you. Charlotte appeared. Tears ran down her face. I know I deceived you. I know I hurt you, but my love was real. Is real. Everything I felt was true. I may have lied about my name, but my heart never lied to you. Silence filled the room. William stared at her. His face showed nothing. You should have told me, he said finally. The first day, the first moment we were alone. You should have trusted me with the truth. I know, Eleanor whispered. I was wrong. I was a coward, but I never wanted to hurt you. You must believe that. William turned away. I do not know what I believe anymore. My whole life with you was a lie. How can I trust anything? Because you know me, Eleanor said desperately. You know my heart. You saw the real me. Eleanor or Charlotte, the woman you fell in love with was me, my soul, my truth. The name does not change that. William's shoulders sagged. He looked suddenly tired, old. "I loved you so much," he said quietly. "I thought I had found someone who saw me. Not the Duke, not the title, just me. A lonely man desperate for connection." Eleanor moved closer. "I did see you. I do see you. William, please. I love you. That is the one truth that has never wavered." He turned to face her. Tears shone in his eyes. "How can we build a life on such a foundation? How can I ever know when you are being honest?" "You will have to trust me," Eleanor said, "and I will have to earn that trust. Every day, for the rest of our lives if need be. But I swear to you, I will never lie to you again, about anything." William studied her face, really looked at her. "You gave up your whole life for your family. Married a stranger, lived with fear and guilt every day." Eleanor nodded. "Yes. That takes courage," William said slowly. "Or desperation." "Both," Eleanor admitted, "but also love. Love for my family, and later, love for you." William closed his eyes. "I want to hate you, want to send you away, and forget you exist. But I cannot. God help me. I still love you. Even knowing everything, even through the anger, I love you." Eleanor's heart soared. "William," he held up a hand, "but love is not enough. We need more than that. We need honesty, trust, time to rebuild what was broken." "I will give you all the time you need," Eleanor said quickly. "I will do anything to make this right." William looked at her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Stay. We will start again, from the beginning this time, with truth." Eleanor felt tears of relief stream down her face. "Thank you. Thank you so much." William's hand came up, touched her cheek gently. "I cannot promise it will be easy. Cannot promise the hurt will go away quickly. But I am willing to try. If you are." "I am," Eleanor said fervently. "I promise you I am." They stood close, not touching beyond his hand on her face, a chasm still between them. But it was a chasm that could be crossed, with time, with truth, with love. "What is your full name?" William asked. "I should know my wife's real name." Eleanor smiled through her tears. "Eleanor Ann Hartley, though I suppose it is Eleanor Ann Ashworth now." William's lips quirked, almost a smile. "Eleanor, it suits you, much better than Charlotte ever did." He dropped his hand. "Come, we should tell the others you are staying. My aunt will be displeased, but she will accept it. Eventually." They walked out of the study together, not holding hands, but side by side, equal, honest. Lord James waited in the hall. His face lit up when he saw them. "It is settled then?" William nodded. "It is settled. Eleanor stays, as my wife, and anyone who has a problem with that can leave." Eleanor felt a laugh bubble up. Her first real laugh since the truth came out. William looked at her. "What is funny?" "You," Eleanor said, "being all ducal and commanding. I missed it." William's face softened. "I missed your laugh. Let us try not to lose it again." The weeks that followed were not easy. William was distant sometimes, closed off, the hurt still raw. Eleanor gave him space, did not push. She focused on being herself, honest, open, vulnerable. She told him stories from her real childhood, about being the invisible twin, about watching Charlotte shine while she faded into the background, about learning to play piano through doors because no one thought she was worth teaching. William listened, asked questions. Slowly, he began to see her, the real her. One evening, William found Eleanor in the music room. She was playing her simple tune, the one she had played for him that first time. He sat beside her on the bench. "Teach me again," he said. Eleanor's heart swelled. "Are you sure?" William nodded. "I want to learn this." Our song, they played together, fingers stumbling, laughing at mistakes. When they finished, William turned to her. His hand came up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. "I forgive you," he said simply. "I thought I should wait longer, make you earn it. But life is too short for such games. I forgive you, Eleanor, completely." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "I do not deserve it." "Perhaps not," William said, "but I am giving it anyway. Because I love you, because I understand now why you did what you did, because I want a future with you. A real one, built on truth." Eleanor leaned into him. His arms came around her, held her tight. "I love you," she whispered. "I will spend every day showing you how much." William kissed the top of her head. "And I will spend every day proving that you are loved, that you are seen, that you are precious to me." The next morning, William had a surprise. He led Eleanor to the gardens, to the lavender section. In the center, a new bench had been placed. Carved into the back were words, "For Eleanor, who taught me to love." Eleanor gasped. Her hands covered her mouth. "William, it is beautiful." He smiled. "I commissioned it weeks ago, before everything happened. I had planned it as an anniversary gift, but I think now is a better time. A new beginning." Eleanor sat on the bench, ran her fingers over the carved letters, her real name, her true self, acknowledged and celebrated. William sat beside her, took her hand. "I have one more thing to ask you." Eleanor looked at him. His face was serious. "What is it?" William reached into his pocket, pulled out a ring, simple but beautiful. A single emerald surrounded by small diamonds. "This was my mother's. She told me once to give it to the woman who made me believe in love again. I want you to have it, Eleanor. Not as the Duchess I thought I married, but as the woman you truly are. Will you accept it? Accept me? Accept this new start to our marriage." Eleanor could not speak through her tears. She nodded frantically. William slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "We will have a new ceremony," he said. "A small one. Just family and close friends. Where I marry Eleanor, not Charlotte. Where you speak your true name. Where we begin again. The right way." Eleanor threw her arms around him. "Yes, yes to everything." William held her close, his face buried in her hair. "I love you, Eleanor Ashworth. Never forget that." "I love you, William," Eleanor said, "and I will never lie to you again. I swear it." They sat in the garden as the sun rose higher, surrounded by lavender and roses, by beauty his mother had created, by love that had survived deception and pain. William told Eleanor stories about his mother. Eleanor shared memories of her childhood. Real ones, true ones. They talked and laughed until the morning grew hot. Then they walked back to the house, hand in hand. A duke and his duchess, a husband and his wife. Two people who had found each other through lies but chosen each other with truth. The new ceremony happened a month later, small and private. Eleanor wore a simple dress. No veil this time. She walked down the aisle on her own. William met her with tears in his eyes. The vicar asked her name. "Eleanor Ann Hartley," she said clearly, "soon to be Eleanor Ann Ashworth." William's hand tightened on hers. They spoke their vows again, this time with truth, this time with full hearts. When the vicar pronounced them married, William kissed her deeply. "My Eleanor," he whispered, "mine at last." The years that followed were filled with happiness. Eleanor transformed Ashworth Hall, brought warmth and light into its dark corners. William became known not for coldness, but for kindness, They had children, 3 daughters and a son, each one loved and cherished. Eleanor taught them music, the simple tune that was hers and William's. She told them stories about honesty and courage and love. William built them a home filled with laughter, with acceptance, with room for truth. Charlotte had stayed only long enough to confirm the marriage was legal, despite the deception. Then she married her true love and moved far away. Eleanor forgave her sister. Eventually, the forgiveness came easier when she realized Charlotte's choice had led to her own happiness. Their parents were angry at first, but they could not argue with Eleanor's contentment. With the life she had built, they came to visit, awkward at first, then warmer. Family wounds healed slowly but surely. Lady Ashworth never fully approved, but she kept her opinions to herself, especially after she saw how happy William had become, how his hardness had melted away, how he looked at his wife like she hung the moon. Even the sternest aunt could not argue with such love. Lord James became a close friend. Eleanor thanked him often for bringing her back, for giving them a second chance. He always smiled and said love was worth fighting for, worth believing in. Eleanor stood in the gardens, 20 years later. Grey touched her hair now, lines marked her face, but her eyes were bright, happy. William came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking about, my love?" Eleanor leaned back into him. About that frightened girl who wore her sister's veil, who thought she was worthless, who could not imagine anyone seeing her. William kissed her neck. "I see you. I have always seen you, from that first real moment we shared." "I know," Eleanor said. "You saved me, William." He turned her in his arms. "We saved each other, Eleanor. That is what love does." They walked back to the house together, to their children and grandchildren waiting inside, to the life they had built from lies and forgiveness, from pain and healing. Eleanor thought about that wedding day so long ago, how terrified she had been, how wrong it had all seemed. But Charlotte's escape had been the greatest gift. It had led Eleanor to this, to William, to love, to home. She would not change a single moment, not the fear, not the deception, not even the pain of discovery, because all of it had led here, to this perfect, beautiful life, to being seen, to being loved, to being Eleanor.